Small Ryan and Diesel, and we are the Fan Upstate. Rolling on until 7 o'clock p.m. today. Truly appreciate you making time for us. You guys have a ton of choices out there. We thank you for making us your afternoon choice for sports right here on the Fan Upstate. Fantastic to have you guys with us. Here's how you can be a part of the show. You can give us a ring at 844-FAN-PHONE. That's 844-FAN-FONE. That's 844-326-3663. And the MadWorldAttractions.com text line is there for you at 71307. Just start your text with the word fan, and away you go on the show. Folks, we're jam-packed today. Jam-packed today. What should the Carolina Panthers do right now? That's coming up at 3:20. We've got Jim Szoke from the Carolina Panthers broadcast team joining us at 3:40 p.m. We're going to ask him, is what we're seeing right now acceptable? Is this acceptable? At 4 o'clock, we've got What the Weekend Taught Us. All right, what did the weekend teach you? Then we've got our NFL whip around. The Braves have a must-win game today. Chris Phillips joins us at 4:40 p.m. We've got the top 5 at 5. We've got Cole Bryson recapping high school football week 7 at 5:20. We've got Mark and Diesel's college football playoff 4 with changes for all of us. And we have you here on the most interactive sports radio show anywhere. I see that I am dressed in my winter gear. I see that Diesel is protesting that very fact with his outfit, rolling with the summer gear as long as he possibly can. What's up, man? How are you?
I'm laughing at Madcraft. Madcraft's already messaged in saying college football is stupid. I don't even like it anymore. Madcraft is a suffering Miami fan today.
Oh, my gosh.
Brutal ending.
Oh, my gosh.
Wow.
Don't worry, Madcraft. That is prominently featured. Miami Hurricanes, Georgia Tech Yellow Jackets.
You're going to hurt his feelings even more.
Prominently featured in the What the Weekend Taught Us segment. That is coming up at 4 o'clock p.m. But, my friends, of course, we open up with Clemson. Clemson against Wake Forest on Saturday. Now, I think, sometimes fans say, well, you're too negative. You're too negative. You're too negative, Nancy. If Karen is the bad name for women, you are a Brandon, Mark Ryan. You are a Brandon. Don't do that. Don't do that at all. And fans will say that, right? But I think this game, more than any other game, the segment good, the bad, and the ugly works, right? It works. It works perfectly for what we saw on Saturday in Death Valley. Now, a lot of you guys are going to expect me to kill the team, and I'm just going to keep it pragmatic. Okay? I'm just going to keep it above the belt, but I'm going to be very honest, very open and honest in what I'm seeing. Okay? The good. Okay, so let's open with that, right? If I give you a bleep sandwich, what do you want first? You want the good or the bad news, right? I'm usually a bad news guy, but this segment is called the good, the bad, and the ugly, so we'll lead with the good. All right? The good is this for me. The defense looked elite. Looked very, very much elite. Held Wake Forest to 239 yards. Okay? Held Wake Forest to only one touchdown allowed, and that touchdown came very, very, very late in the game. 12 points Wake Forest scored. The defense was elite. Wes Goodwin and company doing work. They had nothing. Clemson, to me, never really felt that threatened because of the work that the defense was doing. This is a Wake Forest program that has hung, 38, 40 points on Clemson as recently as last year. Now, I understand Sam Hartman is not walking through that door for the Demon Deacons, but still, that defense for Clemson, that's a defense that'll keep you in every game if they play like that. That'll give you a chance in every game if they play like that. All right? The bad for me in that game. Are we now at the point where we're beginning to wonder if Cade Klubnik is just the next DJ Uiagalelei? I mean, are we now at that point? Because, brother, he's not looking good. He's not looking good. Like, I'm watching that game. You're watching some of these plays. I go back and I rewatch all the Clemson games, right? So I was at this game. You go back and rewatch the Clemson game, and you're watching some of these throws, and it's like he's making the wrong read. And it's like, does he not want to get hit? Why is he making this read before his, why is he taking the quick dump off option before his receivers even get 10 yards down the field? Okay. The quarterback rating of DJ Uiagalelei at Clemson was 128. The quarterback rating of Deshaun Watson and Trevor Lawrence was high 150s, low 160s. Cade Klubnik's quarterback rating at Clemson is 131. Remember, DJ's was 128. Cade's is 131. Deshaun Watson and Trevor Lawrence, high 150s, low 160s. Okay? What are we seeing here? Why is he regressing, not progressing? Okay? Guys, I got to be real with you. I haven't seen great out of Cade Klubnik yet. I haven't seen great out of Will Shipley yet. And I've noticed something about the Clemson fan base and media, right? This seems to be the protocol. When you're critical of somebody, you don't mention their name, right? Which is not how I grew up. Okay? It's like talking behind somebody's back when you don't mention their name. No, bro. You got something to say to me, put my name on it. Okay? Put my name on it. I can take it. I'm a man. I'm 40. And I said that 6 years ago when I actually was 40. He said it's 16. I can take it, right? But what you're seeing now is, man, the running back room lacks speed. The running back room lacks speed. The running back room lacks explosiveness. Well, brother, if your starter had speed and your starter had explosiveness, nobody would be saying that, right? So just put his name on it, okay? Stop beating around the bush. The running back room lacks speed. The running back position group lacks explosiveness. Come on, man. Come on. Cade Klubnik has not shown greatness. Will Shipley has not shown greatness. Phil Maffa does show explosive ability, also does show a propensity to fumble the football. Okay? So Cade Klubnik is taking a step back. There's a lack of explosive playmakers. The best wide receiver on the team is a freshman. Okay? Period. The best wide receiver on the team is a freshman. Realize what you're saying there. Cade Klubnik has 11 touchdown passes this year, which sounds okay until you realize, well, that's less than 2 touchdown passes a game. If I just tell you the touchdown to INT ratio, 11 touchdowns, just 2 picks. That's really good. Yeah, if you played 3 games, you played 6. Okay, it's the offense needs iron. In other words, they're anemic. They need some iron, man. That was a team that Clemson should not have been piddling around with the way that they were, just kind of piddling around. Now, my friends, it's time for the ugly on the game. And avert your eyes, women and children, okay, because this is going to leave a mark. The atmosphere at that game sucked. I was there. The atmosphere sucked. The juice from the players, the sense of urgency, there was no sense of urgency, okay? It was a really sleepy performance. I took a picture of a kid sleeping, of a toddler sleeping. And I said, this picture represents Clemson's offensive performance thus far. It's offensive. Hello, guys. Hey, it's time to play. This is not a noon game. It's 3:30. Let's go. There was no juice. I had friends that were at the Tiger Walk, and they said there was no juice from the team. There was no juice from the fans. And everyone wants to know, okay, well, who do we blame here? Is it the fans? Is it the team? What is it? Oh, man, the team didn't give us anything to cheer about. Brother, it's chicken and egg. Championship level programs have an A-plus team and an A-plus fan base that are bringing it. I didn't see either side bringing it on Saturday. Okay, so let's not point the finger, between fans and team and fans. Let's accept accountability that none of it was good enough. None of it was good enough. All right? The team lacked energy, lacked urgency. right? Like, where is the leadership on this team to get everybody going? And then the fan base was just sleepwalking. It was just, there was no, I mean, I was there. Okay, I was there. Now, I was there in the upper deck. I got some thoughts on that, by the way. It's a beautiful view. I felt like I was watching the game from the Goodyear blimp, an absolutely gorgeous view, and I was terrified. Diesel, I'm not sure if you saw the picture, but I went all the way to the top.
Yeah, I'm surprised you actually paid that off.
Of course. Well, listen, I lost 2 years of my life doing that, Diesel. Okay,
it's up there. I told you, it's way up there.
Listen, man, that was a big deal. Like, for the whole first quarter, Angela will tell you, I was holding on to my seat and like leaning back, kind of like lying down, because it felt like I'm falling off. It felt like I'm falling to my death. I'm not like, dude, I was terrified. I got a problem with heights. And then, like, the worst part is, the worst isn't even going up, it's going down. Like, when you gotta de-escalate down that thing.
Yeah.
I'm holding
There's a lot of people doing it with a lot of alcohol in their system too.
Oh, no, man.
Bro.
No. Like, so I've actually never seen anything like that. You know, like, could you have made that a little bit less steep, Clemson? You know, a little bit more gradual. That would have been nice. But when you get up there and when you get used to it, as I did in the second quarter, it was a gorgeous view. Got to meet a lot of great Clemson fans over the weekend. A lot of great Clemson fans. And, you know, we put out a little tweet Friday night. Hey, we'll be at the game. Wife and I will be at the game. We'd love to meet you. Man, like, a bunch of people retweeted that. Next thing you know, we're getting more invites to come to tailgates than we could ever attend. And it was incredible. It was a really cool vibe and cool experience. And Angela was thrilled we got to go to a Clemson game, but it just, like, there was no juice in the stadium. No juice. And then there's this, and this is the worst part to me. All right, the absolute worst part. It's in the third quarter. It's late in the third quarter, and the fans start filing out. I'm looking at the score. I'm like, guys, are we? So you're filing out regardless of what the score is. You've already made the decision ahead of time that you're filing out of the game, right? You're like, you decided before the game began. Okay, well, Clemson's going to be up 34-6, and I'm going to file out of the game. Bro, the upper deck was empty, okay? Was just about empty. And I said, like, what's going on? And they said, oh, the students got to get to the bars. The students got to get to the bars. Guys, the score was 10-6 in the fourth quarter, okay? Like, the fourth quarter score was 10-6. The outcome of the game was very much in doubt. Where the hell are you going? I'm looking right at you. That's inexcusable. That's inexcusable.
What if there's a sudden change? You know, those of you who are like, oh, the game is in hand. It was all good. We went ahead and took off. What if there's a sudden change? Sorry, Madcraft. Where something crazy happens at the end and you need a really loud crowd on a defensive stand and there's nobody around to make any noise. And what if that happens? And you've all left. Now you can't get back in. You look like you abandoned your team.
Yeah, no, I was asking myself if the fans were just disgusted at the effort that they were seeing, whether leaving like this is part of their routine, or if Clemson's biggest goals being off the table makes it easier just to peace out. Maybe you say, Mark, yes to all the above. But it's a one-score game in the fourth quarter. Where do you have to go that is more important than where you are? Now, my feeling is it's an indictment on you if you left early. And I thought the Clemson fan base leveled down on Saturday. You ever heard the phrase level up? If you can level up, you can level down. There's a little emoji for this. It's a graph going downward. Don't worry, guys. I'm not singling you out. You know, as a show, we can level up or level down every single day.
I call it being part of the 0-0 club. You need to be in the stands, in your seat until the clock hits all zeros.
Yeah.
You need to stay for the entire game. Like, you spent a lot of money on these tickets, and you only get 6, maybe 7 of these tops every year. And it means so little to you that you're willing to give up 25% of the game, leaving after the third quarter, but just so you can beat some traffic. You realize you don't get that many of these, right?
No. Not at all. Like, beat some traffic, and you're not beating any traffic because everyone's leaving at the same time. And like, I'm looking at these people's faces as they're walking down the aisle and as they're leaving the stadium. I'm watching their faces, okay? And I'm not seeing people who are upset. I'm not seeing people who are disgusted at the team's performance. I just see people that, okay, we've been here 3 hours now. It's time to go. Let's go ahead, beat the traffic. There's some really good games on tonight. No, this is your team, bro. This is your team. The vibe there felt like the vibe at the Palmetto Bowl a year ago. This fan base is spoiled. This fan base is entitled. And this fan base behaves like it. These people are leaving the stadium. They don't know what's going on. Does Wake Forest have the ball? Is Wake Forest driving? Is Clemson going to lose? You don't care? What is it? What is it? Because that's pathetic. It's freaking pathetic. I had Gamecock fans saying to me, I bet Mark Ryan won't call out Clemson. Diesel, am I calling out Clemson? I think we're calling out Clemson now, right?
Yeah.
Like, you guys don't know what we do. Like, we call a spade a spade. We tell it like we see it.
And the truth is, this happens at a lot of stadiums across America, but we're not talking about them. We're talking about you right now.
Yeah, what about them? What about them? They did it. No. Like, you guys, your team and your fan base is not a championship level right now. It's not a championship level. We challenged you for Florida State. You guys showed for Florida State. But if that's how you're going to treat your home team, this team is better off being on the road. Good thing is they're not going to have another home game for the month of October, Diesel. Good thing, because the home crowd did nothing for them on Saturday. They have a bye week this week. They're at Miami, then they're at North Carolina State. The best thing for this team is to get the hell out of Dodge. All right? And realize, guys, that when you evaluate a fan base, you evaluate the whole. Okay? If the stadium is half empty because the students have to get to bars, you don't have a championship level fan base. You don't have a championship level team. Man, beautiful atmosphere, Chamber of Commerce Day. What you got is a Power 5 win. Okay? You got a Power 5 win. But boy, the energy level there from the team, from the fans, very, 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 very concerning. The fan base acted, well, you've already given us more than this. You gave us 6 straight years of the CFP, so I guess this is just one of those seasons. 3 minutes left in the third quarter. All right, Betsy, it's time to pack up and go home. Embarrassing. You guys have Clemson accounts posting pictures of the crowd, okay? Clemson accounts posting pictures of them. And 2 of the people in the crowd aren't even Clemson fans. Angela and myself, we're not even Clemson fans. Those are 2 of the people in the crowd making you guys look better. Shame on you. Shame on you. It's pathetic. It's really, really freaking pathetic. I mean, can I... he only calls out Gamecock fans. Can you guys tell the Gamecock fans that I'm calling out Clemson now too? Please? Because I'm trying to tell you what you're going to need to do to get back to where you need to be. Dan Mullen, when he was the coach at Florida, I thought said it best. He goes, it's not we win, then you show up. It's you show up, then we win. What is it in the chicken and the egg to you? Because on Saturday, the team had no juice. The fans had no juice. Man of Tomorrow on the YouTube page says it's a Tommy Bowden era level of excitement right now for Clemson football. The vibe sucked. The view was great. I had a great view of Lake Kiwi. I don't know how I can see that. I knew I should have been terrified, Diesel, when we heard from somebody Friday who said the fireworks will break lower than what you're sitting. And I was like, no. And you are. You can see over the stadium.
Did they make you go up there with a red blinking light just in case planes got a little too close?
Oh, man. Like, bro, they don't prepare you for that. Like, I've been less scared on roller coasters. You know what I'm saying? Seriously. They don't prepare you for that, brother. All right, guys. Fair or unfair? Are we being fair or unfair? That was, guys, you got to be better. You're a Clemson fan. You've got to be better than that. Weak sauce. Not all of you, but most of you, weak sauce. All right, coming up next, Diesel. I don't know why we are so I feel like our teams are putting us in a bad mood this fall. You know that? Like the teams we cover, South Carolina's putting us in a bad mood. Clemson's putting us in a bad mood. Carolina Panthers, the fan upstate. Fantastic to have you guys with us, rolling on until 7 o'clock p.m. today. So let's check and see what you guys are saying on the MadWorldAttractions.com text line. Oh, you guys are active today. Love to see it. Love to see it. Texter says, Mark has been spending an awful lot of time at Clemson. Are we sure he's not a Dabo double agent? Secretly recruiting for Pickens County Tech? So says Mongo. Mongo, my direct boss is a South Carolina fan. When I interviewed for this job, he said, are you ready to cover Clemson, Mark? Clemson is the NFL team here. That's my boss.
Pongo, Bongo, I can't remember his name.
I mean, that's what we do. I wonder if Mongo likes that or if it's getting tired. I'm not sure it matters, Diesel, but
we're going to keep playing it anyway.
Yeah, we're going to
whether you like it or not.
No, look, man, here's the thing, Mongo. I'm going to bring you into a little strategery, okay? I feel like if you only hit up Clemson for press credentials for the big games, it doesn't show a consistency for them. Everybody wants to go to Clemson, Florida State. Everyone wants to cover Clemson, Notre Dame, Clemson, North Carolina. But I don't think you can only show up on those days, right? I don't show up to every single one, but, my Gamecock boss says Clemson is the NFL team here. I'm going to cover them. You creep me out every time you say beautiful babies. Oh, great. Got to keep going with it then, sir.
I think Texter wants me to throw a flag on you.
Oh, for what?
For saying beautiful, creeping people out.
Beautiful babies. Mongo says, I've been saying it. Willie Corn 2.0. Is that, Cade Klubnik. Oy. Mark, how does DJ look this year compared to Cade? Well, I am so glad that you asked, Texter. I am so glad that you asked. What do you say we bring that up right now for the world to see? Pac-12 Conference, Oregon State statistics. DJ Uiagalelei has a rating of 156. Ooh,
maybe he was right when he said Clemson just doesn't know how to use me.
He's been all right. He's been okay. The Beavers are 5-1. They were good before DJ. They're good with him. I've seen a few Oregon State fans that I know that do radio in Portland that are like, man, is this all our passing offense is going to be? DJ's not elite. He's a mixed bag. But Oregon State certainly seems to be optimizing DJ Uiagalelei better than Clemson did. Would you say that's fair, Diesel?
Absolutely.
They're optimizing DJ better than Clemson is? I mean, that seems to be fair at this point, right? Let's see here. Texter says, please go to a Gamecocks home game and feel the difference of the people. I've been. I saw it. I've been there. Texter says, if Phil Maffa has statistically taken over as the best running back on the team, Shipley has regressed, but received more than double the amounts of carries. So says Jeff from Greer. Yeah, I just, guys, say the name. Why does everybody say the running back room lacks explosiveness? No. Will Shipley lacks explosiveness. Will Shipley lacks speed. If he had that, you wouldn't be saying the running back room lacks speed. The running back room lacks explosiveness. Come on, man. Do we have to really placate and sugarcoat everything? Come on. Hey, Mark, me and my girl must have been sitting near you and your wife. The view you posted looked just like ours. I agree about the steep climb. Couldn't believe how many people left early. We stayed until the end. What did you think about the terrible call at the end of the third quarter? Yeah, brutal. The calls there were some awful calls in the game, but to me, I'm not talking about that because that's not the story. That's not why Clemson only had 17 points. Texter says, while watching my Tigers flying high power offense, I fell asleep. Might add, it was an awesome power nap.
Hey, I asked Don Munson last week if he thought that Garrett Riley was going to be around for a while. I'm not sure anybody's going to hire him after this year.
Ooh.
He might be around just because nobody wants him.
Oof. They've got to put it together, man. I mean, that's Diesel. They had so much success running out of a two-back set. They hardly used that at all against Wake Forest. If you guys saw Wake Forest, Clemson use the two-back set once, it was once more than I saw. What are they doing? It's like you said, okay, well, Wake Forest can't beat us, so we're going to experiment in this game. Experiment failed. Okay, it's use what works. Utilize what works. You've got a thunder and lightning combo. Utilize it. I know. CJ Spiller, James Davis. I know. Texter says, from a Clemson fan to those that were at the game and the rest of the fan base, that was totally embarrassing. Wake the F up. Folks, that's not me saying that. That's a Clemson fan. Okay? You guys, and believe me, Diesel, I've been here. I was at Florida when it shifted from we're national championship contenders every year to now we don't go to big bowl games every year. I remember, man, when the fan base stopped coming to games late in the season because Florida was projected to go to the Orange Bowl. And fans were down that we're going to the Orange Bowl. It's ultimately why Steve Spurrier left. Because he's like, man, when I win, it's a relief. When we lose, it's devastating. You guys are making that bed right now for Dabo Swinney. It caused Spurrier to leave. Do you want the same thing to happen to you? You're making that bed. You're acting spoiled and you're acting entitled. Oh, well, we've already seen this. Let's get going. No, we're not particularly upset. No, we don't know who's going to win the game. But, other games on TV, better things to do.
Laissez-faire. It's called being laissez-faire.
Pathetic. Let's see here. Texter says, Pongo Bongo is wetting his pants hearing Mark talk bad about Clemson.
Pongo Bongo, I can't remember his name.
Texter says, Mark, you are being fair, but the unfortunate truth is our fans are definitely spoiled, and if we don't get our crap together, reality is going to hit, and we are going to wind up 8-4 or, God forbid, 7-5. I'm hoping it doesn't come to that. It seemed as though they got overconfident after beating a crappy Syracuse team and played like they were entitled to the easy win over Wake. But then Wake almost came away with the win. I hope it gets better, but it has definitely regressed. Go Tigers. So says a texter on the text line. Thank you for the text, sir. Texter says, Mark, the best and most talented receiver is Bo Collins. Brown is getting his mostly while Collins is getting more defensive attention. Brown was the best for 2 games. Now, I think Brown's the best receiver on the team, man. Adam Randall is the forgotten one. Bo Collins is okay. Antonio Williams isn't healthy. And Tyler Brown, look, guys, if I say to you on Clemson's offense, who's explosive? Who's explosive? You got one name, right? It's at a place like Clemson, should I only be able to give you one name? Hey, man, skill position players. Who's explosive? Tyler Brown. That's it. A true freshman is your only explosive player. Diesel, there's the clip right there. A true freshman is Clemson's only explosive player. A true freshman 3-star from Greenville High School is the only explosive player on Clemson's offense. Say it out loud, folks. Say it out loud. That's where we are. That's why the team is struggling. Not to mention a struggling offensive line, a struggling Cade Klubnik. The whole unit right now is a mess. You should, on your hands and knees every night, you should thank God for that defense. Because, and this season could still be ugly, but the only reason this season isn't ugly right now is because that defense is doing work. And that defense is one that you can be proud of. And that defense is one that should get your best level of support and best level of energy, enthusiasm. I don't know. IT Gamecock says on the YouTube feed, the Taters are spoiled rotten. Spoiled rotten. They are. Let's see here. Mongo says, I like how these clowns text in talking trash about the king anonymously. Weak sauce, Taters, weak sauce. I think he self-glossed himself, Diesel, as the king. I don't know what was worse, the Clemson win or Miami blowing the game with a texter. All I got to have you do is wait 25 more minutes, okay? Well, I promise you we'll be getting to that. Text Jeff from Greer says, what is a hold and how come a flag isn't thrown every time Xavier Thomas is in for a play? I don't know. Jeff, I have no idea. Oh, texter says, I believe that's Lake Hartwell you were looking at. The one Diesel that's like, if you're sitting way up there and it's off to the right.
Yeah, that's Hartwell.
That's Hartwell.
Yeah, that's Hartwell.
Where's Kiwi?
Kiwi's up at the mountains.
Oh.
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, as the crow flies, you're probably only like 25 miles away from Lake Kiwi, if that far.
Okay.
But yeah, that's definitely Hartwell.
Like, I don't know, man. Yeah, I had a great view. My wife was sitting to my right. That's a great view.
Why isn't there like a Hartwell Navy?
I don't know.
For Clemson games? That'd be a sweet tailgate spot with like a little shuttle that runs people back and forth from your houseboats to the stadium and back. That'd be awesome.
Yeah, it would be incredible. The view of the lake was great. The view of my wife was great. The view of the game, not so much.
Roger Carper on YouTube says, thunder and lightning, more like mud and quicksand.
But
Yahtzee.
Uh-oh, Roger. Uh-oh. Them is fighting words. All right, my friends. Coming up next on the show, we talk Carolina Panthers with our guy, Jim Szoke. Diesel, let's, before we go to break, let's spend just a couple minutes on this. Okay?
I love talking to Jim Szoke. I don't love talking about the Carolina Panthers.
Yeah, I like talking.
Can we talk to him about
too.
East Carolina?
Okay. Guys, like, this is not easy for Diesel and I, to do. We've got an interview with the analyst of the Carolina Panthers, okay? And they're 0-5. How would you conduct that interview? How would you conduct that interview? I actually asked my boss today. I said, boss, are we able to, I know that we're an affiliate of the Carolina Panthers. Does that mean, we can't clown them? And he said, well, what do you mean by clowning them? I said, I think they're a joke. And he laughed. And he goes, well, as long as you back up your opinion, I don't have a problem with you sharing your opinion. He goes, you're not going to say that to Szoke, are you? And I said, no, but here's what I am going to say to Szoke. Is what we're seeing acceptable? He goes, oh, that's fine. I got no problem with that. So, Diesel, my conclusion, having watched this team, and here was my Carolina Panthers viewing experience, okay? You're not going to believe this. I turn it on. It's in the second quarter. The first play I see is Bryce Young throw a bad interception. And then the second play I see is Detroit hit a touchdown pass.
Yeah.
I turned the TV right off.
I knew that game was over when Detroit went 82 yards in 3 plays for a touchdown.
Oof.
They didn't even need a second down on the drive.
Is that Detroit or is that Georgia Tech against Miami? Too soon? Too soon, Miami fans?
Man, you're trying to make Madcraft drink tonight, aren't you?
Too soon. No, man, but look, this is not a roster that is able to win right now. This is not a winning roster. This is an unwatchable roster. The problem is, Diesel, and Dave Tepper doesn't show this publicly, he is being a tyrant behind closed doors, and he is not happy. Yeah. I'm not saying he should be happy, but there is a lot of pressure now on that GM and Frank Reich to go get pieces. And the bad part is you already gave up all your draft capital. Yeah. You know what Denver's going to say if you say we want Jerry Jeudy? Okay, we want Brian Burns.
1 for 1.
Yeah, 1 for 1.
Swap.
Okay, no, you don't have a first-round pick. You're not getting Jerry Jeudy. No, we don't want trash picks. You don't have any good picks.
Yeah.
So, the owner is huffing and puffing and blowing the house down because his prize quarterback doesn't have any weapons, right?
Yeah.
The Adam Thielen signing was a failure. Let's call it what it is.
Adam Thielen's the only guy that can catch the ball and advance it regularly. But when you're throwing it to him from the shotgun in the flat, and he's got to go 5 yards to pick up 1, the hell do you think's going to happen?
Yeah, no, guys, it's this is a team that cannot win right now with this roster.
They can't win, and they can't do anything about it.
Nor can you evaluate really Bryce Young at this point without anything to evaluate him on. He's got no open wide receivers. He's got no running game. He's got no offensive line. You want to tell me Bryce Young doesn't look great? I'd say, okay, there's a lot of quarterbacks that don't look great with that. A lot of quarterbacks. So I'm not going to throw the sharp pointing object at Bryce Young. I am going to say this team can't win now.
Man of Tomorrow asked, did they pick the wrong quarterback? I'm not so sure that CJ Stroud wouldn't look just as bad with this offense. At least Houston's got a little something.
Yeah.
This is where Houston was a couple of years ago.
Yep.
This is where Jacksonville was a couple of years ago. But at least Trevor Lawrence had Travis Etienne. You know, he had a guy that he was familiar with. He didn't have anything else, but he had a guy that he was familiar with. Bryce Young's got nothing. Anthony Richardson wouldn't be successful in this offense.
Yeah.
Hell, Tom Brady probably wouldn't be successful in this offense.
Guys, did Carolina draft the wrong quarterback? It's too early to tell. That's TBD, right? We will talk Carolina Panthers with Jim Szoke, the Carolina broadcast team, and we'll do it next. Right here on the most interactive sports talk show anywhere. One that wishes we had more positive topics to discuss on this fall lock. It's Offsides, Mark Ryan and Diesel. We are the fan upstate. Now, I got to tell you guys, Diesel and I, we have conversations off the air, okay? Not all those are, our audience privy, right? We don't share everything with you, but Diesel and I always talk off the air about how we love having Jim Szoke on, and we like him as a dude. We like him as a personality. We like him how he keeps it real. The reality is, folks, this is beginning to feel a little bit like Groundhog Day. It's like, yeah, put your little hand in mine. It's beginning to feel a little bit like that. Week in and week out, we have Jim Szoke on to talk about a loss, and he joins us right now on the show. Jim, we truly do appreciate your time. We appreciate that you show up, rain or shine. I hate the fact that there's been more rain than shine recently. Jim, is this product acceptable?
No, I mean, nobody likes losing, and, Frank Reich says that. I mean, while they're trying to build something sustainable, as they talk about, with a young quarterback, they also plan to win immediately while trying to do that. They've not been successful in doing that, but that is the goal every week. I thought until this week, they were in every game. You can make a case of the first four games that, second half, you felt like you at least had, a chance, a puncher's chance, a lead. But in this one, the three turnovers early on the road against a good 4-1 Detroit Lions team, that wasn't going to cut it, obviously.
Jim, obviously the offense is so the cupboard is so bare for the Panthers offense. They have to have offensive weapons. Now, there's no money in the coffers right now. There's a little bit of money coming open next year. At this point, does it feel inevitable that the Carolina Panthers are going to have to move off of Brian Burns to get back into the first round and to go get Bryce Young some help?
I don't think so. I think they're two separate things. I wouldn't say one leads to the other. And I think they want to have Brian here because you start, again, robbing Peter to pay Paul. So it's like then your defense isn't as good without Brian Burns. But by the way, I mean, there's a lot of talk about Brian Burns. They could franchise him next year. So as much as I'm sure he'd like to have a deal done, and I think as much as they would like to have him here long term, by contract, they don't have to do that this season. They could franchise him next year, and that's the deal. So I think they do need to address, there's no Steve Smith on this team. There's no Christian McCaffrey. So they've got some good pieces that would be probably even a little bit better. Someone like Adam Thielen, some of these guys, someone like Hayden Hurst could probably shine even a little bit more if there was something over the top that kind of opened things up underneath for them. I think some of it's offensive line related, losing both of your guards, and they'll get Austin Corbett, it looks like, back after the bye, at least shortly thereafter. That's going to help with everything, with running the ball, which was better yesterday, with pass protection, which helps develop longer routes. So again, is there a Tyreek Hill? Is there a Justin Jefferson? No. So obviously, the goal would be to have some dramatic change like that as far as a top end player that doesn't exist right now. But there's some solid pieces. But yeah, to your point, they are missing that number one guy, and it's just not there right now.
How would you assess Bryce Young's play? Not only yesterday, Jim, but thus far.
I think, he's been thrown in right away. And, Andy Dalton came in because of the injury in week 3. But to me, I feel like, just big picture, just forget wins and losses. Just look at what he's doing. I thought yesterday was his best game. And there were some good things that happened. The 2 interceptions Frank Reich talked about, we all saw the one Hutchinson made an unbelievably athletic play for a defensive lineman. So give him credit for making a great play. I think that was unexpected. And then Frank made the point that on the other one, the corner route, the receiver didn't run the route at the right depth. I think those things are important to know when you start analyzing, what's going on out there, that it's not just the throw sometimes. It's the route that brought the corner deeper into the route with him. So, those things have to factor in. And again, that is not excusing anything Bryce Young did or did not do. That's just explaining what happened on those 2 interceptions. Beyond that, he had 3 touchdown passes. He threw for 247 yards. And I would say some of that was a little bit of stat padding at the end because you're not getting Detroit's most ferocious defense at that point with a big lead. But just again, talking about his play overall, I thought yesterday was actually his best game. So hopefully as they move forward, that improvement continues for him.
Jim, a good leader, whether it's a quarterback, a head coach, a GM, or an owner, always says some variation of, it's all on me. The buck stops with me. What has David Tepper done this year to improve the Carolina Panthers as a franchise?
Well, I mean, they only changed everything, right? So they changed the coaching staff out. They made a dramatic trade to get the first pick in the draft to bring a quarterback in. And again, while everyone would like those results to, show in the win-loss column right now, I think, they chose a path that they're hoping is sustainable. It's something that's going to build over time. And people don't want to hear the Lions were 1-6 last year and turned it around. Or I give you the example of the 95 Carolina Panthers first year, started out 0-5, finished 7-9. So the point in all that is things could change. The year Ron Rivera got fired, he didn't make it all the way through, but they started 5-3, then went 0-8. So it's a team's 5 games is still not an entire season that it necessarily has to stay where it is right now in terms of this. Therefore 0-5 means therefore 0-17. I don't believe that. So I think there's enough talent on this team that they're going to win some games, and it's obviously going to be more than a 1-year process of getting to where they want to be, big picture wise. But I think it requires patience. I feel like at least here in Charlotte, 0-0, there was immediate saltiness and pressure, and I think that's a product of the previous 4 years and other things. That the Hornets aren't good. Everything here, I think the fans are just ready and starving for a winner, and rightfully so. They should be. But I think there's a little bit extra impatience just because it's been a while. I mean, this team's not been good for the last 5 years now as far as the win-loss record.
Jim Szoke, color analyst for the Carolina Panthers broadcast team, joining us here on Offsides. Mark, Ron, and Diesel, the fan upstate. Jim, so many rumors about what Carolina might do. I've actually been saying to myself, thinking about it, the same phrase you did. Rob Peter to pay Paul. If you don't have the draft capital, how do you go get a Jerry Jeudy, a T. Higgins? T. Higgins, if he's available in the offseason, would be an incredible fit for this team. An incredible true number 1 wide receiver. But I get the sense that there's a level of impatience there that, okay, we need to get Bryce Young help right now. Would you be cautious against making a move for a top wide receiver, given what it would cost on this team?
I mean, I would be, and I don't think any of the names you said, you wouldn't give up a number 1 draft pick for those kind of guys. So I think, there's free agency in the offseason. There are trades where it wouldn't involve number 1 pick. So I do believe that there is some patience there. But you've got to get the offensive line right. And I think getting Corbett back, he's one of the better guards in the league, will help. Sort of like Bradley Bozeman on both sides of him does not have the guy on either side of him at center that he was supposed to be playing next to. And that matters. And we saw the previous game. Minnesota, their rush was right up the middle. And as far as getting in Bryce's grill and where they decided to pressure the quarterback. So I think, I would begin with, if you're not structurally sound in the offensive line and the interior offensive line of that, I think, some of the issues Icky has probably relates to the fact that they haven't had the starting guard next to him that he expected to play next to. And that leaves him maybe in spots where he's not at his best. So I would be concerned, first of all, that offensive line doing its job, and then filling in the big pieces around that second. So I think, to me, that would be the priority list for me.
Jim Szoke, Carolina Panthers broadcast team. Follow him on Twitter at Jim SZOKE. Love catching up with you, Jim. Have a great week. We hope for a win very, very soon.
All right, Mark and Diesel, appreciate it.
Thank you so much. All right, Jim Szoke right here on the show. Coming up next, we will get to what the weekend taught us. What did the weekend teach you? What are your biggest takeaways from the weekend that was? That's next, my friends. And this is the most interactive sports talk show anywhere. It's Offsides. Mark, Ron, and Diesel, and we are the Fan Upstate. Here to tell you guys about our great friends at Mad World Haunted Attractions. Mad World Haunted Attractions is now open. What's good, my friends? This is the most interactive sports talk show anywhere. It's Offsides. Mark, Ryan, and Diesel, and we are the Fan Upstate, rolling on until 7 o'clock p.m. today. Thrilled to have you guys with us. Thank you so much for making us part of your day each and every day. Let's see here. Let's get caught up on some of what you guys are saying. I believe that's Lake Hartwell that you're looking at. Diesel said the same thing. Appreciate it. Thank you for the geography lesson here in the upstate. Let's see here. Hurricane Jeff says, what the heck was that, Mario Cristobal? Texter says, Collins and Brown have the exact same number of receptions and yards. One might have one more touchdown than the other. So says Jeff from Greer. Yeah, but Tyler Brown's making the explosive plays. He's a true freshman. Like, if you have a true freshman, like, look at it this way, okay? Who are you drafting for next season if you have a true freshman who's on par with an upperclassman? Who are you drafting for next season? Tyler Brown, right? He's already on par, and he's a true freshman. Texter says the Panthers have been to 2 more Super Bowls than the Cowboys and Bills combined the last 28 years. Winning is hard. Nobody is more fickle than NFL fans. We've covered that. We've asked the question, why are you not allowed to lose in the NFL, but you're allowed to lose in any other sports? You know, you are. Shane Beamer, Gamecock fans, we got to be patient. It's a climb. We got to be patient. Astros fans endured 3 straight 100-loss seasons so they could restock the cupboard. Why is the NFL the only sport where, like, you're not allowed to do or be struggling the way that the Carolina Panthers are struggling? They pressed reboot. They rebooted this thing, right? It's what they did.
Why do we have so many fans making excuses for teams not winning by saying, well, winning is hard? Winning is hard. Yeah, so you used to be able to do it. You used to be able to accomplish it. It was Jimmy Dugan, the manager, played by Tom Hanks in A League of Their Own.
Yep.
Where he said, the hard is what makes it great. That's what makes winning great. Winning is great because it's hard. Don't you want to be great? Like, why are people excusing mediocrity today? I mean, calling what Panthers are mediocrity would be really generous. But why are we excusing crappy play by saying, well, we used to be good and winning is really hard? Don't excuse that.
But also, Diesel, like, sometimes you just can't win. Like, you know, Diesel, if you were to take over Vanderbilt this year, you wouldn't win next year. Are fans supposed to bitch and moan and throw sharp pointing objects at you? You got to have time to build something. Well, no, you can't win. You can't win next year in the SEC, Diesel. You know? Yeah,
but this was also a team with the Carolina Panthers are also a team that the pundits far-reaching chose 10 wins for this year. They're looking at 10 wins this year. So on paper, you had everything you needed to win, and you clearly don't.
Diesel, can you find me what the Carolina Panthers over-under was when the year began? I want to say it was either 6.5 or 7.5 wins out of 17 games. Before the year began, NFL over-under totals. Now it's obvious the under is the play, right? You know, like, if I said to you right now with the Carolina Panthers, over-under, Diesel, 2.5 wins.
This Panthers team is so bad, they're going to be playing in London in a couple of years.
Permanently.
Yeah.
Permanently.
Well, no, I just meant that whoever is the crap game of the week gets sent to London.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Almost always. A crap game gets sent to London. They don't send good games to London.
If I said to you guys right now, Carolina's 0-5, 12 games left, I'll reset the over-under win total at 2.5. Are you over or under 2.5 wins for Carolina the rest of the year?
6.5 was the preseason over-under.
Yes, so they're either going to be 6-11 or 7-10, right? 6-11 is the under, 7-10 is the over. They're nowhere close to that. Nowhere close to that. All right, guys. Your biggest takeaways from the weekend are what? What is your biggest takeaway? If you're going to flex your muscle about something, man, that happened over the weekend, what is that going to be?
Andy Dalton should be playing. Again.
No reps for Bryce Young.
Hell no.
Why not?
Yeah, it doesn't do the Panthers any good to lose.
Well, yeah, but you get him better.
But he's not getting better. That's the thing.
Yeah,
everybody's like, "Oh, he needs reps. He needs time. He needs experience to get better." But he's not getting any better. And losing gets you nothing because you don't have a first-round draft pick. So tanking is bogus with this team. And the more you lose, you're losing fans. You're losing money. You're losing season ticket holders. You're losing merch sales. You're losing beer sales. You're losing hot dog sales. You're losing parking sales. You're losing all of these things by losing games. Andy Dalton is better than Bryce Young. Put Andy Dalton in the damn game. Why is it this hard?
Well, because how long do you want Andy Dalton to be your starter? You know? I mean,
if he's winning games, I want him to start it for the rest of the year.
Yeah, well, then what? You know, why did you draft Bryce Young number 1? You got to play him at some point.
Well, you made a mistake.
Yeah, that's an unsurvivable, that's a mortal mistake, Diesel.
Have fun going 0-17 then. Whatever.
That's a fatal
What can
flaw.
I say?
That's a fatal flaw.
Right after the game, ESPN was sending out push notification articles asking that very question. People at ESPN are, in theory, smarter than us. They're asking these questions. Should Andy Dalton be the starter of this team?
What did the weekend teach us, ladies and gentlemen? What is your biggest takeaway from the weekend that was? Here we go. Number 1 for me, and I'm kind of growing tired of this, but Georgia is toying with us all. You know, they're just toying with us. You know, they're way better than South Carolina. They're way better than Auburn. You know, and the proof of that you saw this week, 51-13 over Kentucky. I drank the Kool-Aid that they weren't as good this year. I put money down on Kentucky. I am less wealthy today. Well, let's be honest, I was never wealthy. But I'm less wealthy today than I was on Saturday because I thought, based on what I saw, let's do the math here. You beat South Carolina by 10. You beat Auburn by 7. All right? Kentucky's getting 14.5 points. That offensive line just ran all over the Florida Gators. What gives? What gives? Well, what gave was everything that is Kentucky football. Georgia is toying with us all. 34-7 at halftime. I mean, that was supposed to be a primetime worthy game. And instead, what that told me was, and guys, do you remember Josh Payton nailed this? Eric Mathis says he doesn't think 0-17 is out of the question for the Panthers. Josh Payton nailed this. He said, no, Mark, I think Georgia's going to be told all week long that, look, they're going to run the ball down your throat. Georgia's good enough to take away Kentucky's run. That's what Josh Payton said. Josh Payton was right. Mark Ryan was wrong. Georgia's just toying with us all. They're fine. You know, they're going to be fine. They are fine. They're going to roll. You know, they just might be bored again. You know, like you look at Georgia's schedule here coming up. At Vanderbilt, that's going to be another sleepy game. Oh, it's a noon game too. So, like, don't be surprised if that's like a 17-10 halftime score. They'll be up for Florida, and that's going to be awful for me. Okay. Versus Missouri, they'll be up for Missouri because Missouri almost beat them a year ago. See what I'm saying? Like, so you can predict when you're going to get a sleepy performance from Georgia. They're toying with us all. They're great. They're still Georgia. Number 2, Diesel. My God. Notre Dame may, in fact, be a good football team. But that schedule is right out of the NFL, man. They lose 33-20 to Louisville. Josh Pate called that as well. That was his upset pick.
I'm waiting for the day that Notre Dame and South Carolina fans get into our schedule is harder than yours smack.
Yeah.
Because that is a refrain from Gamecock fans every year. We got one of the hardest schedules in the country.
Listen to this, though. Listen to this, okay? Relative to the way it sounded when the year began. Ohio State, at Duke, at Louisville.
Yeah.
Okay. USC this week. They have Ohio State, Duke, Louisville, and USC in 4 consecutive weeks. Then they've got at Clemson. I mean, the schedule is brutal, and Josh Pate picked Louisville not because he thinks Louisville's better than Notre Dame, but because it's the whole 3 hard games in 3 weeks thing.
We did just see Louisville look awful against NC State. What, 2 weeks ago?
Oh, they look so bad.
They look bad.
NC State.
So I think Louisville has the potential to be a really good football team, but they're just one of those up and down type of teams.
Yeah, that's Florida.
And they got way up for Notre Dame.
That's Florida. I mean, how the hell do you explain what Florida did against Kentucky or didn't do? And then Georgia wiping the floor with Kentucky, but then Florida beating Tennessee. How do you explain that? Guys, I don't like to really flip the page and talk about the next week's games until about Wednesday. But I'm going to tell you, South Carolina should be a favorite in that game. Florida doesn't show up on the road. Alligators don't travel well. They're very territorial. And South Carolina's got off a bye week and playing at home. South Carolina should win this game. Serious. South Carolina should be a favorite in this game. I don't know if I'm ready to say should win. Should be a favorite in this game. Let's do that, okay? And let's talk more about that as the week progresses. By the way, in this hour, we've got Chris Phillips joining us at 4:35 p.m. So we look forward to that conversation. That is going to be fun. That's going to be fun right there. Let's see here. We've got an audio clip, by the way, on Notre Dame. They ran a trick play, and this was, Diesel, they were down 9. Notre Dame was down 9 in the game. There were 9.5 minutes to go. Okay, now paint the picture of this scenario, okay? They're down 9.5 minutes to go. They've got a 4th and 11 on their own 35-yard line, and they went for it. What? Down 9.5 to go, own 35-yard line, 4th and 11. You're going for that. And they didn't get it. What?
Inadvisable. That's the word for that.
It's desperation.
Or flat out stupid.
What are we doing? Then, in the Louisville game, Notre Dame did this.
3rd and 1. Oh, the ball's out! Ball is out, and Louisville's got it. They faked the pitch, tried to go inside counter, got a little too cute, and the Cardinals get it. And it is Brownless with the recovery.
Some might say going for it on 4th and 11 is
crazy. It was. It most certainly was. 3rd hard game in 3 weeks. You give Notre Dame a bye week. You play Louisville at Notre Dame. Notre Dame wins that one by double digits, my opinion. So much in college football is situational. And then we've got to get to this. Oh, my God. The Miami Hurricanes. You thought the night was winding down, didn't you? I was up watching college football until 2:30 a.m. because USC almost lost. Arizona, I think Jed Fish is the Arizona head coach. Diesel, Arizona is in overtime against USC. Arizona, they're a 21.5-point underdog. I think we had 1 or 2 people pick Arizona to upset USC, and I'm watching that, and I'm like, man, whoever called this is going to win the whole upset competition.
Did you see the USC players trying to tackle the Arizona punt returner onto the ball to make him touch it?
Yeah.
What the hell?
Yeah, what was that?
In any way, shape, or form, I think you can only call 1 penalty on that. Why couldn't you call penalty on all 4 of them? Unnecessary roughness. Make up a penalty.
Yeah.
Yeah,
it was poor sportsmanship. You can't do that. but the game's in overtime, right? USC scores in overtime. Arizona wins the toss in overtime. Of course, they defer. They get the ball second. USC scores a touchdown, and it's like, well, what do you do if you're USC? Well, they kick the extra point. Makes sense. Arizona gets the ball. And you're like, oh, bro, you're in a perfect situation here. You score the touchdown, you win the game. You go for 2. They scored the touchdown, they kick the extra point, Diesel. When you play not to lose, you play not to win. The more that game went, the more likely USC was going to win that game. You don't have a better team than USC. Why wouldn't you go for the 2-point conversion and the win?
Madcraft earlier said that he heard rumor that Miami was looking at a coaching change and that they were going to make a play for Neil Brown, but he spelled it Kneel.
Oh,
Neil Brown.
Neil Brown.
Well
I
played.
see what you did there.
Well played, Madcraft.
I see what you did there, sir. I see what you did there.
We've got audio of that situation too. That kerfuffle.
Yeah, literally, Mario Cristobal, Miami fans were getting on their hands and knees, begging you to do the very obvious.
The play-by-play guy was like, "What are they doing?"
And the crazy
What are they
thing
doing?
is, so in case you guys are wondering, it's the end of the game. Miami's got the ball. There's under 30 seconds to go, and all they have to do is kneel the ball. You take a knee, victory formation, and win. They didn't do that. They fumbled.
The only thing I can think of is they were trying to get running back his yards. They were trying to get him to a 100-yard game. I don't know.
Get a guy's carry so he doesn't transfer or something. But anyway, even when they fumbled, big deal. Big deal because there's 36 seconds left or something, and Georgia Tech has 76 yards to go for the touchdown. 76 yards. Big deal. Then they go right down the field in 3 plays, and they score with 1 second left on the clock. And the craziest thing is like, we were actually thinking Miami was good until this point.
Yeah.
They piddled around with Georgia Tech the whole game. And the crazier thing is, crazy. The crazier thing is, Diesel, Mario Cristobal has a track record of this. He did this at Oregon late in the game. They didn't run the clock out. This is just what he does. Here's what it sounded like live.
And here's Chaney, just straight ahead, tackled, and the ball popped out.
You got to read the clock. Read the card. To me,
Georgia Tech has it with 26 seconds left.
26 seconds left.
Kyle Kennard comes up with the fumble.
you should not be running the football. You should be taking a knee. As long as you milk it all the way down, you don't need to be doing this, and you certainly don't need to be fighting for extra yards.
That sounds like it was Miami's broadcast, Drew Diesel. Was it? That sounded like it was Miami.
No, that was the national broadcast.
That was the national. Wow. Guys, you tell me, correct me if I'm wrong. I think that's a fireable offense. It would take something really bad for you to fire somebody like the first time they do something. I don't know. If you guys commit what would be the equivalent of like misdemeanors at your job, you show up late one day to work, you don't have an assignment in on time, those things can build up, and like misdemeanors can result in you losing your job. To have a one-time offense that makes you guilty of losing your job, it's got to be something bad. Diesel, this was a brain-dead decision, and it's a brain-dead decision that this dude, out of arrogance, does this all the time.
So there was a guy that I used to know in radio. He worked here in this building, and his previous station, Mark, they in their cluster had a Christian music station, and one of the guys who was working as a part-time board op, maybe like a Sunday morning board op, was in the studio, and he was not of the same religious and moral standing of the Christian station that he was doing a show for. He was watching porn on a Sunday morning in the studio. Not only that, he wanted to watch it all with the sound coming out of the big speakers over his head. And he was watching it with the channel and program. And that means that he was watching porn on a station computer connected to the board with the fader on and up and in program, and it was going out over the air.
Give it to me, baby. Oh my gosh, that's brutal. Diesel, that's a fireable offense. That's a one-time fireable offense. You only need to see that one time.
Friggin' moron.
Diesel, you tell me. Am I not having a heart here? Cristobal has a good rep.
Yeah.
He recruits well. He coaches well. Fireable offense? Yes or no?
Oh man. I'm gonna say no, only because he's made positive strides at Miami. This is boneheaded. This is ridiculous. This is buffoonery. This is complete and total buffoonery. But Like, we've seen Miami struggle through coach after coach after coach after coach for, nigh on 15 to 20 years at this point. And like, does he need to go to rehab or something?
Yeah.
Are we sure that Mario Cristobal, isn't hitting the sauce that Bob Caslin was hitting? Are we sure that he's okay mentally? Are we sure he's okay at home? Can we get him some help?
Is it a fireable offense? Yes. Would I fire him for this offense? No. But I would understand those who do. Okay? It is a fireable offense. You can't do that. What your biggest takeaways from the weekend, college and NFL? We'll read them next, right here on the most interactive sports talk show anywhere. It's off. It's Offsides, Mark, Ryan, and Diesel. We are the Fan Upstate. Your biggest takeaway of the weekend, what is it? Our buddy Bill Weston, salesman extraordinaire from Boston originally. He says, my big takeaway, Mark Ryan, it officially sucks being a Patriots fan. It's the worst team I've ever seen. They are now known as the pathetic Patriots. Home game, Diesel, against an otherwise kind of middle-of-the-road Saints team. Score was 34-0 at home.
Who would you take in a Patriots-Panthers matchup?
Diesel, don't say that about the Patriots. That's not bad. That's too mean. Here's my question to you, Diesel. If Mac Jones is the 49ers quarterback, does he look like Brock Purdy or not?
No.
In that system with Kyle Shanahan and those weapons around him?
No, I don't think he looks as bad as he does in New England, but he's not looking Brock Purdy good.
No, he's not looking that Purdy.
No,
definitely not looking that Purdy. We love you, Bill. Great to hear from you, buddy. Let's see here. Texter says, my takeaway from the weekend, Russell Wilson is a washout and Denver's uniforms were ugly. Yeah, they went all orange. Orange is something, Clemson fans, spare me. I'm allowed to say this because my team's color is blue. You could say I have like Gator colors on right now, but there's no orange because orange sucks. Orange is a bad color, okay? It does not look good with my complexion. Just does not look good. I look jaundiced when I wear orange. Don't like it. Don't do it. Let's see here. Texter says, South Carolina fans talk about how hard their schedule is because they actually have a really hard schedule annually. They actually have a very, very hard schedule every single year, and it's brutal, and we can't do it. Texter says, Mark, I'm praying for the Braves to get a win tonight, a must-win for the Braves. Michael in Greenville is up next. Hey, Michael, thanks for the call, pal. You're Offsides.
Hey, guys. Wanted to call about the one-time fireable offense.
Yes, sir. What do you think? Is it?
Well, in college, I played baseball in college. I won't name the college. I don't want to degrade their name, but we had a professor who his wife was pregnant, let's just say, and we had an over-the-air broadcast station that for the county that the only TV was controlled by the one TV in the library, and he decided to go down and have a little happy time in the library with an adult video and just happened to put it in the VCR that controlled the whole county over-the-air broadcast. So the whole dorm, when we walked in, is going, turn it on channel 10, turn it on channel 10. So we run in, and let's just say there was a lady who was very excited about wrestling with her partner.
Oh, no.
And it was exam week, and I happened to have his exam 2 days later, and he was not there.
Oh, no. Oh.
The one TV.
Well, listen here. Listen. So his mistake was he put a tape in? Is that the mistake?
He put the tape in to watch and have a little happy time with himself.
With just himself? So there was no woman with him?
No. He was watching a video to have personal time.
Oh, no.
And the one VCR TV that controlled the whole public access channel for the county.
Oh, God. That's awful. That's awful. You couldn't wait till you got home, sir. Look at Diesel's.
Who does that in public places?
Diesel's evil innards are laughing at that poor guy. Michael, what do you think about Cristobal? Fireable offense for that one time? Would you fire him for that?
I definitely would. I mean, that is just unexcusable there. So if that was I'm a Gamecock fan. If that was, even though I love Shane Beamer, if he did that, it's like, man, with everything else going on, you got to go, dude.
There you go. Hey, Michael, great to hear from you, pal. We talk Gamecock Gators with Chris Phillips, and we do so next right here on Offsides. We are the Fan Upstate. It's Offsides. Mark, Ryan, and Diesel. We are the Fan Upstate. Joined right now by Chris Phillips at the Spurs Up Show. Host the Daily Crow Monday through Friday. Chris, welcome back, man. How did you spend your bye week?
Mark and Diesel, what's going on, man? Appreciate you guys having me. And spent the bye week, Mark, in the Blue Ridge Mountains in Eastern America's highest town, a.k.a. Beach Mountain, North Carolina, one of my favorite places on earth. Ventured down to Blowing Rock, North Carolina, even swung by Boone, North Carolina, and checked out App State, The Rock, and had dinner in Boone. So it was a good time. We had a full weekend, man. We're there Wednesday through Sunday, and obviously back at it in the saddle, but it was a great bye week, and also kept up with some ball on Saturday. But hope you guys enjoyed the bye week as well, or whatever you guys did this weekend. So looking forward to it, man. It's Florida week, Gamecocks and Gators. It's gonna be a lot of fun.
Now, Chris, I just want to know: did you pick one of the fancy restaurants in Boone, or did you go to the fanciest restaurant, the double-decker 2-story Wendy's, right there on 421 and 321?
So, we actually caved and called a late audible and went to Mellow Mushroom, so a very simple dinner. But come to find out, when I got home, I had a DM from the owners of the Daniel Boone Inn, I believe it's called. Yeah. They are actually Gamecock alums, so they told us to swing by next time for dinner on the house. So we'll definitely be doing that again. I love to go up there and go skiing and everything, and been going up there since I was a kid. So I've always had a soft spot for App State, traveling over to Boone, and so we'll definitely swing by and have dinner and hang out.
For with this, we are essentially, Chris, approaching the halfway point of the season. I realize the Gamecocks have played 5 games. What report card, what would the letter grade be for the Gamecocks thus far this season? And because I know you, Chris, I think your grade is going to be a C or a D. I just don't know which one of those two it is.
Yeah, Mark, and ironically enough, we'll actually do this next week. I always do a mid-season report card, grade everything from offense, defense, special teams, coaching, and do the overall as well. But you know me pretty well, Mark, because right now I'd probably go around a C-, which is right basically in between exactly what you just said.
Yeah.
I think you look at the season, and 2 and 3 is exactly where I predicted them to be. Obviously, you flip the North Carolina and the Mississippi State games in my predictions, but I thought 2 and 3 was likely for South Carolina. 3 and 2. Obviously possible heading into this game against Florida, which I called over the summer the most important game of South Carolina season, and I think it's certainly shaping up to be that. But it's when you look beyond the record. I mean, you look 2 and 3. Carolina has lost to 3 ranked opponents, but it's how those losses have happened, right? You've had some good, which is the 10-point loss on the road to Georgia, where I think we all agreed you showed progress. We've had the bad in the loss to Tennessee, where you couldn't stop the run, you couldn't really stop anything defensively, and giving up 6 sacks and Spencer Rattler not able to shoulder the load like he's done all season. Then you've had the ugly, which was the season opener against North Carolina, which, Mark, I don't know why this isn't really being talked about, more than it is, but I think the UNC loss is much more inexcusable than that Tennessee loss we saw a week and a half ago. But either way, it's more so how those losses have happened versus the fact they have happened. So I'd go C-. But obviously, again, a huge game upcoming against Florida. When we look back on the first half, I think that one's going to sway a lot of the grading, if you will, and how we look at the first half of the season.
Chris, outside of the quarterback room, what position group at South Carolina would you say has improved the most this year, and what position group has sadly not?
The position group outside of quarterback that has improved the most. I mean, I don't want to say wide receiver. I mean, I think Xavier Legette's the most improved player individually. And I don't think that's much of a debate when you look. I don't think anybody saw him. He was the most optimistic, thought he'd be one of the best wide receivers in college football. I mean, it's much. Let me put it this way, Diesel. It's much easier to name position groups that have regressed than that have improved. I mean, I think when you look at the South Carolina secondary and just the numbers through 5 games, it's very easy to point at them and say they've taken a major step back and they've really felt the departures of guys like Cam Smith and Darius Rush. And I don't know that Nick Emanwari and DQ Smith in the back end have really lived up to, what most Gamecock fans thought they could be. Obviously injuries have hampered Nick Emanwari, but Jelon Kilgore, the freshman's in a bright spot. But I think the secondary as a whole has taken a step back and has been more of an eyesore than most expected. And I'll say wide receiver, outside of quarterback, I'll say wide receiver simply because of Xavier Legette. When you got a guy like that leading the way, and if I'd have told you through 5 games that South Carolina wouldn't have Juice Wells, and more than likely, I think Shane Beamer will update us tomorrow, but I'd be really surprised if he plays against Florida, and I wouldn't be surprised if he doesn't play at all the rest of this season due to that foot injury. But if I'd have told you they didn't have him, you'd have thought they'd have taken a major step back. But Xavier Legette obviously is in that bright, shining star at that spot. So I'd go wide receiver most improved, and I think the defensive backfield is really the one that it's been surprising to me how much they've regressed since a season ago.
Chris Phillips, the Spurs Up Show, joining us here on Offsides. Mark Ryan and Diesel, the fan upstate. Chris, what is the Gamecock fan base mood tracker saying right now? What is the mood of the Gamecock fan base? Is it, oh no, we suck again? Where are they at right now?
Yeah, I think it's a little bit on edge, Mark, honestly. I think it's on edge, and I think, the bye week came at a good time. After that Tennessee game, I think folks, needed a little bit of a break to cool down and collect themselves and gear up for a big next 7 games of the season. But, I think it's a little bit confused. I think it's, disgruntled a little bit, when you talk about the way that the losses have happened, especially in that Tennessee game. It's unfortunate when you have the bye week. It's great to have 2 weeks to prepare for your opponent. But if you have a bad last game, you kind of have to stew over that, right, for 2 whole weeks. So I think there's a mix of emotions, but I think it's on edge, Mark, going into a game that I think most understand. I called it, again, the most important game of South Carolina's 2023 season. I didn't mean that because I think South Carolina, Florida is going to decide the SEC East, obviously, but I think it's a game that, and I think it's fair to say right now, Mark, if you win this game, 7 wins, maybe 8 if some crazy things happen, is still on the table. But, I mean, if you lose, I think you're staring 5 and 7 right in the face. I think this game is the difference between South Carolina going 5 and 7 or 7 and 5 in year 3 of Shane Beamer. And you and I talked about preseason expectations and the goals, and 8 wins was obviously a success. So 7 and 5 would not be a success for our metrics, but it'd be a whole heck of a lot better than 5 and 7, which would be an utter failure in year 3 of his tenure. So I think that's how most Gamecocks fans feel, is just on edge and anxious to see what they're going to get out of the bye week. Because Carolina historically has been really good after a long break, but in the Shane Beamer era, I mean, you just never really know what you're going to get. So we're going to learn a lot on Saturday for sure. And I know Gamecock fans will be anxiously awaiting 3:30 kickoff on Saturday.
So, Chris, my feeling is, and the reason, the crazy thing about this game, Chris, is this is as must-win for Florida as it is for South Carolina. And Gator fans are tired of the Jekyll and Hyde approach, not knowing which Gator team is going to show up, the one that's at home and the one that's on a road. It's just been 2 totally different teams, Chris. At home, Florida's a top 25 team. On the road, they're probably not in the top 100. Okay, it's unbelievable. I think Eastern Kentucky or Western Kentucky, one of the directional Kentuckys, had more rushing yards against Kentucky than Florida did, gave up fewer rushing yards than Florida did. So, Chris, as you look forward in this SEC Eastern Division landscape, is it out of the question to say that the loser of this game is probably in second to last place in this division when all is said and done? When you factor in who Kentucky is, what Kentucky is, who Tennessee is, who Missouri is this year. I mean, I feel like the loser of this game is in 6th place in that division.
Mark, I think that's fair. And despite the results we saw on Saturday, I still think Kentucky's a quality football team. I still think it's probably Kentucky, Missouri, and Tennessee that are fighting for that second best spot in the SEC East, with obviously Georgia head and shoulders above everybody else. But yeah, I think South Carolina and Florida are fighting for the number 5 spot in the SEC East. And, I think this is a huge game, Mark, too, for just the purposes of SEC East hierarchy. That's something I talk about a lot. It's a real thing, I think, in regards. And I know we're going away from divisions next year, but when you think from a divisional mindset, right, South Carolina, that's why the Tennessee loss was so big, because there's no debate, there's no denying, if there ever was, that Tennessee has, resurpassed South Carolina as a football program in the SEC. Like, they are above them right now. And, Florida got the big win last year. Of course, Shane Beamer gets the big win in year 1, knocks Dan Mullen out. And, it's funny, Mark. I think the demise of Florida was a little bit premature. Over the summer, I think the Gators were kind of the fun team to pick on and talk about how bad Billy Napier is in that Florida program. And, of course, the signing of Graham Mertz, and everybody had their fun ranking him 14th best in the SEC quarterback rankings. But this is a huge game from that regard, too. I think this is one of the reasons, Mark, I labeled it the most important, is if you can't take advantage of a quote-unquote down Florida, under a year 2 head coach, Billy Napier, when the fan base is in kind of disarray. There's some people that think he's not the answer in Gainesville. And Florida, was a team over under 5.5 win total, right? Weren't expected to do a lot. If you can't take advantage of them now, Mark, I think Florida's only going to get better. I think if the Gators fan base can have some patience with Billy Napier, the way they're recruiting, Florida's not going to be down forever. And if you're South Carolina, you have to take advantage of the product that Florida's putting out there on the field right now. So it's a massive game on both sides. Obviously for Billy Napier and the Gators, if they're going to have that breakout year 2 campaign, get to 7 or 8 wins, which sounds crazy to say that'd be a breakout year for Florida, but in this current landscape, I think we'd all agree that it would be. So if Florida can win this game, obviously they got some much tougher opponents coming up with the likes of Georgia and some others later in the season. This is a huge swing game that I think, similar to Tennessee, could spark things in a positive direction for Florida. And, for South Carolina, if you don't want to call it a must-win, you can call it a can't-lose. Because if you lose this one, you've got Mizzou and A&M waiting on the road. And I really think this is one that could really send your season into somewhat of a tailspin and the wheels fall off on year 3 of the Shane Beamer era.
Chris, I'm going to ask you a real contentious question here. I hope you're ready for it. Better bar scene, Greenville or Columbia?
That's a good question. I would go Greenville, but it really depends on your demographic needs. If you're looking for the college landscape, I think you'd obviously say Columbia for obvious reasons. But the more young professional or adult crowd, mature crowd, I think you'd go Greenville. And I don't think this is a hot take, and I don't mean to throw any shade on Columbia because I lived there for 3 years and loved every second of it. But I would say Greenville is a superior city to Columbia. And I just don't even think it's close. All due respect to Columbia, I got nothing but love for, but if I have to make a pick, I'm going to go Greenville, overall. And I'll say bar scene again for the right demographic. I would say Greenville has more offerings, restaurants, bars, etc. So,
Chris, what's the recruiting scene looking like for the Gamecocks of late? Is the vibe there about as apprehensive as the fans are about the season?
It's been pretty quiet. I'm not going to pull the Dan Mullen and say that, that recruiting talk is for recruiting season or anything like that, because that would be inaccurate. You're always recruiting. I think South Carolina's optimistic they can flip a couple of guys. And I think if they're going to have the type of class they want to have, they're probably going to have to flip some prospects out there. But I think the optimism's still, Mark, really high when it comes to the recruiting aspect. I think your last commitment you landed was Dylan Stewart a couple of months ago. I think the big one you're waiting on is the 4-star running back prospect Daniel Hill, although I think it's unlikely that you land him. So it's kind of a wait-and-see game right now, Mark. I think the optimism is still really high there, and I think the optimism is still high in the program as well, Mark. You and I talked, obviously after the Tennessee game, and I still say I'm a bit surprised, how much emphasis we're even putting on this Florida game, or how much emphasis we're putting on that loss to Tennessee when people are starting to question Shane Beamer's, future at South Carolina. And I know you guys talked about the honeymoon phase is over, which is fair. Coaches aren't getting 5, 6, 7 years to build a program anymore, and it's win now. And, if you're not popping off in year 3, the questions are going to follow, and it's really easy to compare Beamer and company to the last staff and some of the last coaches that came at Carolina. So, you can make the argument, is Shane Beamer doing really anything differently than any of the coaching staff has done? And of course, Gamecock fans, the fanaticals lost in the current present day, and those who are going to praise the coach no matter what the record is, they're going to say yes. They're going to say it feels different, and it is different. But at the end of the day, these coaches are judged off wins and losses. So, I think the optimism is there in recruiting. I think the optimism is mostly still there in regards to the Shane Beamer era and what he can accomplish in Columbia. But it's, again, Mark, it's a game like Saturday that you just have to have. If you want to talk about start comparing the Muschamps to Beamers, like Saturday are the type of games that Will Muschamp and his staff found ways to lose.
What is the thing Shane Beamer's doing the best now in year 3 of his tenure, and what's the thing he's doing the worst, Chris?
I think the thing that he's doing the best is, building the program culturally and the buy-in in the building. And listen, we're not in the building, but I think when you look at what happened last year when South Carolina lost to Florida 38-6, and that was a moment where, again, the wheels really could have came off. And he's a guy that's just relentlessly positive and believes in what they're doing and believes in what South Carolina can be, not what it's always been. I think you have to have great culture in your building to go turn around and win games like you did against Tennessee and against Clemson. So I think in the building culturally, you could say other things like recruiting, but I think culturally is the number one thing I look at, Mark, that I think he's doing really well. I think the thing that Shane Beamer could improve on, and I think a lot of Gamecock Nation would agree on this, he's loyal to a fault. You know what I mean? So if changes need to be made, whether that's offensive coordinator, defensive coordinator, running backs coach, whatever coach it might be, or whatever systems are in place, he's loyal to a fault, and that can be a really good thing. That can also be a hindrance. And I think a lot of Gamecock Nation would tell you that, like Marcus Satterfield, why did it take 22 or 23 games to finally pull the plug there and make the decision? And, is he willing to be kind of live on the edge a little bit and color outside of the lines and do some things in recruiting that in the transfer portal that you need to do to win big in the SEC and in college football today. So, if I'm being hypercritical and I'm analyzing in that regard, I think that's the thing that a lot of Gamecock Nation and myself included would say that Shane Beamer could work on. But again, he's a young coach in year 3 and still kind of learning as he goes. And you just hope those things improve during his tenure.
And finally, Chris, as we let you go, Johnny Carrots wants to know when your arm wrestling match is going to be. What should I tell him?
Hey, we'll set it up on pay-per-view. Maybe get rough and rowdy, Barstool Sports, to televise it. We can make a full ordeal of it.
Let's do it. Let's do it, my man. Hey, welcome back, Chris. I look forward to joining you on Thursday. And this is Gator Gamecock Hate Week, man. So away we go.
Going to be a lot of fun. We've already chatted with Chris Doring today, who relived the 95 touchdown he had in a blowout win. So we're already off to a hot start, Mark. Diesel, I appreciate you guys having me.
All right, take care. Chris Phillips of the Spurs Up Show. We have got the top 5 at 5 coming your way next, right here on the most interactive sports talk show anywhere. It's Offsides. Mark, Ryan, and Diesel. What's good, my friends? This is the most interactive sports talk show anywhere. It's Offsides. Mark, Ryan, and Diesel, and we are the Fan Upstate, rolling on until 7 o'clock p.m. today. Truly do appreciate you guys making us part of your afternoon. Truly do value you. Thank you so very, very much. All right, in this hour, Diesel and I will reveal our college football playoff 4. Now that we know what we know, where have we been wrong thus far this season? What 4 teams ultimately will make the college football playoff? Do I make a change? Is Texas still in? Do I think Texas gets back in over Oklahoma? Or do we not? That's at 5:40. We'll recap week 7 of your high school football action with Cole Bryson joining us in the very, very next segment of the show. And right now, it's your time to shine. That's because it's the most interactive segment of the show. It is the segment that we call the top 5 at 5. The top 5 biggest sports stories of the day. The top 5 topics we're discussing. Ladies and gentlemen of the Upstate, Offsiders. The top 5 at 5 starts right now.
And now, the top 5 at 5.
And 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Hit it.
5.
At number 5, a must-win game for the Braves tonight. Braves fans, on the panic meter, where are we with this team right now? Be real. This is the team that most recently bounced you from the postseason. This is not a best-of-7 series. It should be. It's a best-of-5 series. So they're already 1/3 of the way to eliminating you. You already have to win a game in Philadelphia to bring it back to Atlanta for Game 5. And you are listed as a 2/3 chance to win tonight. 66.7% chance you win. I think if Philadelphia wins tonight, the series is over, season is over. I mean, if you could put that, like, what would a Braves loss tonight mean to you? Look, I don't like the best of 3 series. I don't like the best of 5 series. I don't think you should play for 6 months to be eliminated in 3 days. But it's the system that we have. Like, where would this rank? I mean, the Braves are a franchise that have had a lot of heartbreak, right? If they were to lose this series, where would that rank among the all-time heartbreaks in Atlanta Braves history? Zach Wheeler is going to try to bring you a ton of pain tonight. A ton of pain. He opposes Max Fried for Atlanta. Blanked Atlanta over the weekend. Just shocked to see that. In Atlanta, nonetheless. You know, what's the secret to them shutting down that offense? And how many runs do the Braves need to score tonight to win? I'll go 4. Will they score 4 tonight? This is as must-win gets. You know, who's got a bigger must-win? Florida next Saturday against South Carolina. South Carolina next Saturday against Florida, or the Braves tonight. Speak now or forever hold your peace. Next up.
4.
The good, the bad, and the ugly on Clemson versus Wake Forest on Saturday. The good, the defense showed out. No touchdowns allowed until very, very, very late in the game. 229 total yards for Wake Forest. Made Wake Forest essentially look like a high school offense. Really limited them in terms of what they wanted to do. You got a Power 5 ACC win. That's always good, right? The bad was everything else. It was the fact that Cade Klubnik, to me, looked like he regressed, making mistakes that he shouldn't be making at this point in his development, at this point in the season, at the midway part of the season. Shouldn't be making these mistakes anymore. He tends to make the quick read to the flat before allowing 9 and 10-yard routes to develop, right? He's not getting great blocking, which might have him acting sooner than he wants to act. I don't know what it is about Clemson fans or Clemson media, but they won't say names of people they're being critical of. You know, so like what I keep hearing right now is, well, the running back room is not very fast. The running back room is not very explosive. Just say the name. Because if Will Shipley was fast and explosive, you wouldn't be saying that, right? Say the name. Don't hide it. You know, what are you hiding from? Will Shipley has not shown a propensity for greatness. Cade Klubnik right now looks a lot closer to DJU than he does to the medal stand of Clemson quarterbacks. DJ Uiagalelei finished at Clemson with a quarterback rating of 128. Cade Klubnik right now has a quarterback rating of 130. Deshaun Watson, Trevor Lawrence at Clemson were high 150s, low 160s. It's not great. Not great, folks. That offense right now seems to be in shambles. And the ugly for me. Shame on all the fans who left. What an embarrassing scene that was. I was there. I'm there, and I'm watching the fans just flood out, and I'm like, so you guys predetermined, you premeditated that you were leaving. You know, I'm speaking about this like a crime, right? Premeditated murder. Because it is a crime to leave your team when your team needs you. You know, you guys decided ahead of time that you were leaving towards the end of the third quarter, in between the third and the fourth quarter. And I don't know if everyone left because they were, you know, put off by what they saw. Did they leave just because that's what you do? That's part of your routine? Did you leave because Clemson's biggest goals are already off the table? But it's a one-score game, for crying out loud. Where did you have to go that's more important than where you are? To me, it's an indictment on you if you left so early. I don't know. On Saturday, we were there. Angela and I were there. I thought Clemson fans as a whole leveled down. The vibe felt like last year's South Carolina game all over again. Was it the players' fault for not giving the fans something to be excited about? Is it the fans' fault for not creating an atmosphere that the players want to play in? Yes, both. Neither team is of championship. Neither level of the program is championship level right now. The fan base is spoiled and entitled. The team is making elementary mistakes they should be beyond. But they did win, survive and advance, right? And now next they get a Miami team off of a Clemson bye. You know, Miami gets Clemson off of this disaster against Georgia Tech. And after at North Carolina this week, that's advantage Clemson. Just wake up. Wake up, Clemson fans. You only get 6 to 7 home games a year. You know, Death Valley is your favorite place, right? Death Valley is your very, very favorite place. So in a year in which you get 6 home games, I think you get 7 this year, right? You're in Death Valley 24 hours a year. That's one day. That's your favorite place. Where do you got to go that's more important? You know, I was told people were leaving early to get to the bars faster. What a waste. That's embarrassing. It's embarrassing, you know? And frankly, the team, the fan base, the team, the program, Dabo Swinney deserves better than that kind of behavior. Next up.
3.
At number 3 today. How about we're calling it the crystal ball kerfuffle at the end of the Miami-Georgia Tech game. You see, there were about 30 seconds to go. Miami had the ball. Miami was winning the game. Georgia Tech had no timeouts. Miami was in Georgia Tech territory at the 25-yard line. How do you lose that game? Miami showed us. Instead of taking a knee that would have ended the game literally, okay, like Georgia Tech, no timeouts, 30 seconds to go, Miami did this.
Here's Chaney, is straight ahead, tackled, and the ball popped out.
You gotta read the clock. I mean, read the card. I mean, to me,
Georgia Tech has it with 26 seconds left. Kyle Kennard comes up with the fumble.
you should not be running the football. I mean, you should be taking a knee. As long as you milk it all the way down, you don't need to be doing this, and you certainly don't need to be fighting for extra yards.
Singleton, the fastest of the receivers, to the top of the screen. Here's King from the pocket. Flush to his right with 6, 5. Going to loop it downfield. And ball is caught. Touchdown, Georgia Tech.
There you go. How do you explain that? You know, the question I've asked you guys today is that by itself a fireable offense for Mario Cristobal? By itself. You know, you have to do something really bad to be fired on a one-off, right? You can be fired for an accumulation of misdemeanors at your job. You show up late for this. You didn't have this paperwork in on time. You do about 5 to 10 of those, you can lose your job, right? But if an offense has to be really bad for you to lose your job on a one-off. And the crazy thing is, folks, this is just what Mario Cristobal does. You know, Mario Cristobal is known for not taking knees. He did the same thing at Oregon against Stanford. Stanford got the ball back when Oregon wouldn't run out the clock. Doesn't take a knee. Why? Doesn't make any sense. I don't know. What do you guys say? I think yes, it is a fireable offense, but no, I would not fire him. But I lost some faith. I lost some belief in Mario Cristobal after that one. How could you not? And that just became a more winnable game for Clemson as a result of that. Next up.
2.
Oh, my gosh. Let me tell you about my Carolina Panthers experience yesterday. I turn on the TV. All right. They're losing 21-7 in the second quarter. It's already not going well. First thing I see, first play, Bryce Young throws a pick, a bad pick, one where he didn't see the defensive back that he should have seen dropping into zone coverage. The play thereafter, Detroit runs a little trickeration for a touchdown pass. I saw exactly 2 plays. My television was on for less than 60 seconds, and I turned it right back off. We went to the rodeo in Tryon yesterday. Then we went to Mountain Brook Vineyard, which is gorgeous. It is gorgeous, my friends. And not just because my wife was there. It was a beautiful scene, and we made something productive of our day because that sure as hell wasn't going to be watching the Carolina Panthers. Folks, the reality is this team is not ready to win. They're not ready to win anything. Diesel thinks they should be starting Andy Dalton. I'm not going to go that far, but they have no weapons. They have no defense. You can't judge the quarterback at all right now, but we shouldn't just focus on the good things. It's a joke. Yes, Diesel.
Instead of watching the game yesterday, I took my dog to Home Depot to get some socialization. This is a puppy. He needs it. It's 3 months old. And then I took a nap.
You refreshed. You sure as hell weren't going to do that watching that team.
I didn't sleep a damn bit the night before. We made the mistake of letting our dog play with another dog, get wiped out, tired, let him sleep all afternoon. And then he was a flipping nightmare all Saturday night. Never again. We will wake his little ass up. So we needed the sleep. And I sure as hell was not going to watch the Carolina Panthers game.
Why would you? Why would you, man? Guys, it is what it is. They really miscalculated. The putting a rookie quarterback behind no offensive line and no weapons, and suddenly the defense doesn't look good either. They're pressing reset and they're starting again. And you got to accept the fact that this might be at least a 3-year rebuild at this point, if you are a Carolina Panthers fan. And finally, what do you say we close on a positive, shall we? Trevor Lawrence for the next member of the royal family. All Jacksonville did the last 2 weeks was go across the pond and win not one but two. They should have beaten Atlanta. They had no business beating Buffalo. And yet that's precisely and exactly what they did. Now, as you know, Jacksonville, the Jaguars are Clemson South. How about Travis Etienne yesterday, man?
Etienne gaining the edge, and he walks it in. Touchdown.
By the way, you'll be able to hear Jacksonville and Indianapolis coming up this weekend right here on The Fan Upstate. Jacksonville suddenly found it, man. They found their groove. They found their switch. Trevor Lawrence for a member of the royal family.
Not only did he hit that 6-yarder, he also hit a 35-yard touchdown run also in the fourth quarter.
Let's hear that one.
There's Etienne up the middle. Etienne is free. Etienne. Touchdown. 35 yards.
It's that kind of explosiveness, Diesel, that Clemson fans are not seeing in their current backfield. That's exactly what's missing. The brilliance. The magician-like qualities of one Travis Etienne. And those are today's top 5 at 5. Now it's your chance to chime in. We're also taking your biggest weekend takeaways. What are yours? Braves tonight against the Phillies. Do they get it done? It's one of those things where it's like, I think a Braves loss means like over a 90% chance they lose the series. A Braves win, they still might be under 50-50 to win the series, right? Because you got 2 in Philadelphia, raucous crowd. You got to find a way to get 1. If it goes back to Atlanta for a game 5, I like Atlanta about 80% chance to win, okay? But you got to win 2 out of the next 3, and that starts tonight, man.
I know we're about to jump off of here and go grab Cole Bryce and bring him on for the next segment, but I do want to invite Rich in Chicago to call back in. He called in during the last commercial break, and my fat fingers hit the wrong button.
Sorry about that,
The
Rich.
problem is, from where I'm sitting, we've got a light shining right on the phone. The whole thing looks shiny. I can't read any of the words printed on the phone. And the 2 buttons, the hold button and the drop button, are side by side, and they look stupidly similar. That's a problem. They both have a white rectangle in the middle of the button. Who the hell decided to do that? Who designed this phone? I need answers. Telos. People at Telos.
Thanks for the call, Rich. We do appreciate you, buddy. All right, up next, get your questions in via the madworldattractions.com text line because we've got the host of the Saturday Scramble, Cole Bryson, joining us next, right here on the most interactive sports talk show anywhere. It's Offsides. Mark, Ryan, and Diesel, and we are the Fan Upstate.
Oh, you guys are awesome. Playing through the pain, Madcraft. How you're sober and standing upright, I don't know. I don't know how you're doing it, but we appreciate you being here throughout the entire show. I'm glad that we can be your sounding board to help you get out all of the frustrations of the week gone by. Spur Daddy, thank you for being here. Valued member of the Upstate P1 family here. We've got a ton of people in here. Mongo was here throughout the day. So many new faces. There was like 2 or 3 new faces that I didn't ring the bell for during the show. Brandon Keeler was in here for a while. Dylan Lagore, all of you. We appreciate it, and we'll be back to do the show live here on the stream tomorrow and every single day this week.
Yes, sir. Well, we appreciate you guys. Hey, all you Gamecocks, Spur Daddy, how you feeling? You feeling lucky? You feeling confident? Gator Gamecock week, my friends. We'll see you guys tomorrow.